The city, a living, breathing beast. Towers of glass and steel scraped the sky, monuments to ambition and greed. Below, shadows crawled in the gutters, whispers of forgotten hopes and broken promises. This was my jungle, my concrete kingdom. I knew its rhythms, its secrets, the way it could chew you up and spit you out without a second thought. Tonight, the air crackled with a familiar electricity. We were on the cusp of something big, something that would change the face of the city forever. The warehouse was a tomb, its silence broken only by the rasp of our breaths and the rustle of old cardboard boxes. Tony, my right hand, sat across from me, his gaze sharp and calculating. Beside him, Lucy, a tangle of nerves and street smarts, fiddled with the silver crucifix around her neck. Then there was Vinny, a mountain of a man, his face a roadmap of past battles. These were my soldiers, my family, bound to me by blood and circumstance. We can't just sit back and watch anymore. The city is ripe for the taking, and we're going to be the ones to claim it.
I've got eyes on Chicago. A few key players ripe for the picking. Miami too. We make our move now, hit them where it hurts, and they'll be begging to join our ranks.
Let's just go in there and take what's ours. No more talking.
His eagerness for a fight was palpable. But this wasn't a playground brawl. This was business, and I always had a plan. Violence is a tool, Vinny, and like any tool, it needs to be used strategically. We're not thugs. We're businessmen.
Lucy's right. We need to make a statement, a show of force that will send a message to every two-bit hustler and wannabe kingpin in this city, but it needs to be calculated, precise.
I studied the map, my fingers tracing the lines that connected our city to others like veins and arteries. Chicago, Miami, New Orleans, each one a potential jewel in our crown. We strike fast, we strike hard, and we leave no room for doubt. My voice was ice, my words a promise. Section 2, the serpent's fang. The first blow fell on Chicago. Our contact, a weaselly little man with shifty eyes and a nervous twitch, led us through a maze of back alleys and dimly lit bars. He brought us to a nightclub, its facade a garish neon beacon in the urban jungle. Inside, the air was thick with cigarette smoke and the cloying scent of perfume. This was our praised territory, a man named Sal DeMarco, a swaggering brute with a reputation for violence and a taste for blood. Section 3, Whispers of War. We found DeMarco in his office, a cramped, gaudy room that reeked of stale liquor and desperation.
You got some balls coming in here. You know who I am?
He puffed out his chest, trying to project an air of dominance, but I saw the fear in his eyes. He'd heard the whispers, the rumors of our arrival. I know exactly who you are, Sal. A dinosaur, a relic of a bygone era, and your time is up. The air crackled with tension, the silence broken only by the faint sound of music from below. This was the moment, the point of no return. The night was about to explode. Section 1, the Devil's Playground, Chicago. We hit DeMarco's operations hard and fast, a whirlwind of violence that left his empire in ruins. Tony orchestrated the chaos like a maestro conducting a symphony of destruction. His men moved with ruthless efficiency, cutting through DeMarco's defenses like a hot knife through butter. Warehouses went up in flames, shipments vanished into thin air, and those who dared to stand in our way met with swift and brutal justice. I watched it all unfold with a cold satisfaction. Power, I realized, wasn't about how many men you had or how much money you could throw around. It was about fear.
Miami shimmered under the scorching sun, a city of glittering facades and dark underbellies. We found our next target, a slick Cuban exile named Rivera, basking in the lap of luxury on his yacht, surrounded by beautiful women and armed guards.
We infiltrated his inner circle like vipers, exploiting his weaknesses, turning his own men against him. Lucy, a master of disguise and seduction, wormed her way into his confidence, feeding us information while whispering doubts into his ear. By the time he realized he was playing against us, it was already too late.
The night of the takeover, the air crackled with tension. As Vinny and his crew stormed the yacht, guns blazing, I confronted Rivera on the upper deck.
New Orleans, a city steeped in history and mystery where the music flowed like the Mississippi and the shadows held the secrets of the dead. Our final target, a man known only as Leroy, was a phantom, a whisper in the wind. We had to tread carefully here, respect the city's ancient rhythms, its delicate balance of power. We made contact with Leroy through an intermediary, a voodoo priestess with eyes that seemed to see into your very soul. We had come to claim our empire, and nothing, not even the shadows themselves, would stand in our way. With each city we conquered, our power grew. Word spread like wildfire through the underworld. We were the new force to be reckoned with, a ruthless and efficient organization that operated with impunity. But success came at a cost. The violence, the betrayals, the constant threat of danger. We were no longer the same people who had gathered in that dingy warehouse all those weeks ago. As I stood on the balcony of my penthouse apartment overlooking the sprawling cityscape that was now mine, I couldn't shake the feeling that we had only just begun to descend into the abyss. The empire we had built was a house of cards, held together by fear and violence. The penthouse was a fortress, a glittering cage of glass and steel high above the city streets. From here I could see it all. The pulsing artery of the freeway, the glittering diamonds of the financial district, the sprawling grid of the slums where I had first tasted blood. But the view offered no solace tonight.
The weight of what we'd done, the lives we had taken, it's finally starting to crush me.
Tony paced the room, his face etched with worry lines I hadn't noticed before. Lucy sat huddled on the plush sofa, her face pale, her eyes haunted. Even Vinny, my rock, seemed subdued, his usual swagger replaced by a brooding silence. We had won, but at what cost? We were kings of a kingdom built on ashes, our crowns heavy with the weight of the dead. The first sign of trouble came in the form of a phone call, a whispered warning from one of Lucy's contacts on the force. A raid was coming, a coordinated strike on all of our operations. Panic threatened to consume me, but I shoved it down, forced myself to think clearly. We had survived this long, face-down enemies far more powerful than a few corrupt cops. But as I issued orders, dispatching my men to secure our assets, a cold dread settled in my gut. This felt different. This felt like the beginning of the end. The raids hit us like a tidal wave. Warehouses were stormed, safe houses compromised, our men cut down in a hail of bullets. We regrouped at the warehouse, our sanctuary, the place where it had all begun, but it felt different now, tainted by fear and betrayal. The faces that looked back at me were gaunt, their eyes hollowed out by exhaustion and doubt.
We can't win this, they're too strong, too organized. We need to disappear, vanish before they hunt us down like dogs.
His words tasted like poison, but I knew he was right. The game was over. We had played and lost, but I refused to accept defeat, not without a fight. We may be outgunned, but we're not outmatched. We still have one card to play. Tonight, we fight back. Tonight, we remind them who the hell we are. This was the night of the long knives, and we were the ones holding the blades. The air in the warehouse was thick with the metallic scent of fear and anticipation. Our remaining men, their faces etched with a mixture of grief and grim determination, checked their weapons.
You sure about this, boss? This feels like walking into a lion's den with a pork chop tied to our asses.
Tony, his usually sharp eyes clouded with doubt, met my gaze. We were about to wage war against an enemy we couldn't hope to defeat in a conventional fight. But this wasn't about conventional warfare. This was about sending a message. We hit them where it hurts. We hit them where they least expect it. We make them bleed like we've bled. We show them that the Empire of Shadows doesn't go down without a fight. The abandoned church stood at the edge of the city, its stained glass windows like the vacant eyes of a forgotten god. It was a fitting place for a final stand, a sanctuary for sinners seeking redemption through violence. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of incense and decay. Shadows danced in the flickering candlelight, giving the impression of unseen observers, silent witnesses to the coming carnage.
We hit them during their moment of supposed triumph. A meeting of the city's elite, rival gang leaders, corrupt officials, dirty cops, all gathered under one roof to celebrate our demise and divide the spoils of our fallen empire. They never saw us coming. The element of surprise was our only weapon, our only hope.
Gunfire erupted, shattering the night like a hammer blow against glass. Screams ripped through the stale air as our enemies, caught off guard, scrambled for cover. Vinny, a grim reaper in a leather jacket, moved through the chaos with terrifying grace, his shotgun barking with deadly precision. Each blast was a symphony of destruction, a testament to his rage and grief. The floor, once polished to a shine, became slick with blood. The stench of gunpowder and fear filled the air, choking, suffocating. This was our requiem, a symphony of violence played out on a stage of broken dreams and shattered lives. The church became a slaughterhouse, its hallowed halls echoing with the sounds of gunfire and screams. The air was thick with the coppery tang of blood, the acrid bite of gunpowder. Shadows danced and flickered in the strobe-like flashes of muzzle fire, creating a surreal, nightmarish landscape.
I moved through the chaos with a cold fury, my gun an extension of my will. Each bullet found its mark, a testament to years spent honing my skills on the brutal streets. But for every enemy that fell, another seemed to rise in their place. We were outnumbered, outgunned, but not out of fight, not yet.
I caught a glimpse of Tony, his face pale but resolute, firing from behind a crumbling pillar. He took a bullet to the shoulder, his body jerking with the impact. But he stayed upright, his gun never wavering. That was Tony, loyal to the end.
Lucy, her eyes wide with a mixture of fear and exhilaration, used the chaos as cover, her movements fluid and precise as she picked off our enemies one by one. We were a pack of wolves backed into a corner, fighting for our lives. But even wolves eventually fall to the hunters.
The air hung heavy, thick with the coppery tang of blood and the acrid bite of gunpowder. The echoes of gunfire, once deafening, faded into a haunting silence, broken only by the moans of the wounded and the ragged gasps of the dying. The church, once a sanctuary, was now a tomb, its floor a mosaic of shattered glass and spent shell casings.
I leaned against a pew, my body a symphony of aches and exhaustion. My hand, slick with sweat and something far more viscous, trembled as I fumbled for a fresh magazine. My ears, still ringing from the deafening symphony of violence, struggled to pick out individual sounds over the insistent pounding of my heart. Around me, the survivors, their faces, pale with shock and exhaustion, surveyed the carnage with a mixture of awe and horror. We had struck a blow, yes, but at what cost?
Tony, his face ashen, slumped against a pillar, clutching at the blood-soaked bandage on his shoulder. His chest rose and fell in ragged gasps, each breath a testament to his dwindling strength.
Lucy, her usual bravado replaced by a bone-deep weariness, sat huddled on the floor, her back to the altar, her eyes distant, haunted. We had survived, yes, but we were ghosts, our souls stained with the blood of our enemies, our dreams reduced to ashes.
We emerged from the church as dawn painted the sky in hues of blood orange and bruised purple. The city, usually a cacophony of noise and activity, seemed to hold its breath, stunned into silence by the violence that had unfolded within the church's hallowed halls. Sirens wailed in the distance, a mournful chorus signaling the inevitable arrival of the law. But it was too late for justice, too late for redemption.
The empire we had built, the empire of shadows, lay in ruins around us. Our men, those who'd survived the night, melted away into the morning mist, their faces etched with the knowledge that they were marked men, forever haunted by the ghosts of their past. We had failed, but in the ashes of our defeat, a strange sense of peace settled over me. The relentless ambition, the insatiable hunger for power, the constant fear that had gnawed at my soul for so long, it was gone, replaced by a hollow emptiness that was both terrifying and strangely liberating.
I looked at Tony and Lucy, their faces drawn and haggard in the cold light of dawn. We were all that remained of the empire we had built, three broken souls bound together by blood and loss.
Where to now, boss? Tony asked, his voice raspy, the question heavy with unspoken meaning.
I didn't have an answer for him, not yet. All I knew was that the city, our city, had changed. It was no longer a jungle to be conquered, but a graveyard of shattered dreams and broken promises.